everyone, it's Destiny, and today we are going to be doing tier list review where we all come together and share our thoughts on the recent tier list changes and also the recent characters that have released in Honkai Star Rail. I would love to know which character you were the most excited for in version 3.6 or if you're maybe more excited for 3.7. Also, if you enjoy videos like these, do make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support the video, and before we get into today's video, I wanted to show you all a way to get cheaper Oneric shards, and also I wanted to say thank you to Loot Bar for sponsoring today's video. Loot Bar is a website where you can purchase Oneric shards at a discount, and all you have to do is provide your Star Rail UID, pick the pack you want to purchase, and boom! Within a few minutes, you'll see the Oneric shards within your account. I've actually been using Loot Bar for a while now to get discounted Oneric shards for my summons, and my friends have also gifted me Oneric shards through Loot Bar as well. And not only that, if you also play Genshin Impact, Withering Waves, Endless Zone Zero, you can also get discounted currency for those games on Loot Bar as well. Loot Bar has great reviews from users. You can check out Loot Bar using my link in the description down below or my pinned comment. And now let's carry on with today's video. Alrighty, so here we are with the most recent tier list, and they have actually heavily changed some aspects of the tier list. One of the most notable changes being that characters are now equipped with their best in slot 4 or 5-star light cone, but this now will also include signature light cones. So in the case of a character like Aglaya, she will now have her signature light cone accounted for, and this also applies to other characters as well. Some other changes were also made. For example, Tribby moved from support DPS to Amplifier, which we'll get into this shortly, but before we get into that, we can check out Evernight. She is the newest addition to the tier list character-wise, and she is in the DPS section as well as support DPS, both of which being in tier 0, which after testing Evernight for a while now, I definitely expected her to be pretty high up on the tier list. Tier 0, I'm not too surprised by this, as she is doing very well as a main damage dealer or even as a damage dealer alongside Castress due to the buffs that she provides for memosprites. But when it comes to being a main damage dealer, you can think of her in a team alongside characters like Remembrance Trailblazer, Tribby, Hyacinth. For other supports, you can consider characters like Cypher, Silverwolf, for your sustains, Gallagher, Luocha, and so on. And I have showcased numerous showcases with Evernight where she has been able to get very low cycle clears, numerous 0 cycles, even with different supports. For example, in one showcase, I replaced Tribby with Silverwolf. I was still able to get a 0 cycle even with that team. When it comes to Evernight's kit, she is another HP scaling damage dealer. I do feel like we've been getting quite a lot of those when it comes to our 3.x characters, when it comes to Castress, Mighty, now Evernight. So we've been getting more frequent HP scaling damage dealers, and even when they did the buffs for some of our other characters, for example, Jing Liu, she is now HP scaling as well. So Evernight follows this trend of being an HP scaling damage dealer, and she also has HP manipulation in her kit. As she will be able to reduce her HP, she takes advantage of losing her health in order to get Memoria, and there are numerous ways for Evernight to get Memoria, some being her skill, getting attacked by enemies. Even in the case of, let's say you have Hyacinth with her signature light cone, Hyacinth is going to be able to drain allies HP with her signature light cone, which will give more Memoria for Evernight. And Evernight's damage output overall, especially when you are able to get a bunch of stacks of Memoria, is pretty impressive when it comes to how frequently she can dish out this damage due to her being able to get more speed when her memosprite Evey disappears. This can allow her, even at a low speed prior to entering battle, to reach the 134 plus range. If you had Evernight at 105 speed, whenever Evey does disappear, and let's say you had at least 19 Memoria, you will be able to have 134 speed for that turn. If you do decide to have a faster Evernight, she can reach very high speeds as well as a result. And she can also nicely take advantage of a character like Remembrance Trailblazer, which I have showcased this before, but a pretty cool thing you could do with Remembrance Trailblazer and Evernight is with Evernight's skill, she's going to be able to gain herself Memoria. Memoria is incredibly important for her memosprite's damage potential, so the more Memoria you have, the better. And what you could do with Remembrance Trailblazer and Evernight in particular is if you nicely time it to where Remembrance Trailblazer is able to have 100% charge right after Evernight uses her skill, you'll be able to advance forward Evernight once again and use her skill once again to now get even more Memoria, and this will result in massive damage being dealt from Evernight. And of course, remember, Trailblazer is a completely free character, so this is a very powerful synergy that you can take advantage of. As for the buffs that Evernight provides, you'll be able to give a bunch of crit damage for ally memosprites, and when Evernight does use her ultimate, she'll enter the Darkest Riddle state, which during this state, the damage received by all enemies will increase by 30%. This is essentially a vulnerability debuff, and this results in a 1.3 times damage increase for the entire team. This debuff is going to be inflicted onto enemies, so that means Hyacinth can take advantage of this for more damage being dealt with Little Ika. Castris can take advantage of this for Netherwing to be able to deal more damage onto enemies, and even Castris herself. Of course, Evernight herself can take advantage of this, and so on. So this is an excellent thing that Evernight has within her kit. That vulnerability debuff is going to allow the team to now deal more damage onto enemies. Plus, with how much crit damage Evernight can provide for ally memosprites, she can provide very nice supportive capabilities alongside her DPS capabilities for the team as well. And of course, Evernight likes being alongside Remembrance characters, as they do have memosprites, which one of her traces will also further increase the crit damage that she gives for ally memosprites depending on how many Remembrance characters you have on your team. The more the better. So in the case of Evernight, I do think she can definitely be up here in tier 0. When it comes to just her damage potential, even in the support DPS category, he is an excellent option to pair alongside Castris as well. Now, when it comes to the rest of the tier list, we do have a lot of characters in tier 0, which I would love to know if all of you agree with how many characters are in tier 0 for DPS. I do feel like Amphorius in general provided a lot of great damage dealers. When it comes to Anaxa's versatility, when it comes to Archer, he's able to deal massive damage with how much he can spam his skill. Castris is also another HP scaling damage dealer who is able to deal massive damage with her memosprite Netherwing. We have Hycillens, which Hycillens has the partner plus plus tag, which I have showcased her without and with Kafka. And I will say, when it comes to playing her without Kafka, there's definitely a noticeable difference in her performance. One of the main reasons there is such a performance difference is due to the fact of how frequently Kafka can detonate damage over time. While Hycillens can do this herself, she unfortunately is not doing it as frequently as Kafka, so because of that, Kafka is still a very, very important character for the damage over time playstyle, but Hycillens does provide excellent benefits for that playstyle and definitely helped with making damage over time a much more powerful archetype, I would say, with her release. As for Evernight, we already went over her, and then with Finan, you're able to take advantage of Sustainless very well, and he also has a new support which nicely benefits his kit, being Cyrene. She's going to be able to allow him to duplicate his meteor attacks, which just results in massive damage being dealt from Finan. But Finan is also here in tier 0, but it does make me wonder, now that we are considering signature light cones, do any of you feel as though maybe Aglaya should be in tier 0 instead of 0.5? Prior to this new tier list update, she was mainly being accounted for when it comes to an E0, S0 Aglaya. But now that she has her signature light cone as an option, I'm very curious if you would all say that maybe she should be up here with the tier 0 characters, or do you feel as though the gap is still big enough to warrant that she remains here in 0.5? The main reason I'm bringing up Aglaya in particular is because in previous tier list reviews I've done, I recall a good amount of comments mentioning that they do agree with her drop since it isn't accounting for her signature light cone and it's only accounting for her being at S0. And then there were other arguments that if she was S1, so she does have her signature light cone, she should be in tier 0. So I'd love to know all of your thoughts regarding this, if you believe Aglaya in particular should be in the tier 0 group with her signature light cone, or if you feel as though that these characters do excel a bit more than she does to the point where she would be a 0.5 tier below them. As for the rest of the tier list, I don't believe there was many shifts between tier 1 and tier 2, and I would love to know just how all of you feel about these placements. Now, I actually want to move to the Amplifier section due to the fact that Tribby moved from support DPS to Amplifier. And if I'm being completely honest, I am not too sure if I would agree with Tribby and Cyrene in the same placement being tier 0. I do understand that She does have a partner plus plus tag, which with this tag, if I'm not mistaken, a character with partner plus plus would be either 2 to 3 tiers lower if they did not have their ideal team member. So in Cyrene's case, it's mainly in reference to Anaxa and then Fined. At the same time, I'm not too sure if I guess I would agree with just seeing Tribby and then Cyrene in the same slot, just because of how versatile a character like Tribby is and just how much Tribby has contributed to the meta for teams, and just being able to be an incredibly flexible option for so many teams in the game because of what her buffs are able to provide. With her skill, she provides ult type res pen, and then with her ultimate zone is going to inflict vulnerability onto enemies. So you can essentially put Tribby on majority of teams, if not practically almost every team, and she will be able to provide nice benefits with those buffs specifically. Plus, she is also an excellent wearer of the Dance 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 light cone. When it comes to tier 0, would you agree with Tribby and Cyrene being in the same slot? And then I did notice that they did drop Robin, which when it comes to tier 0.5, I'm not too sure if I would agree with some of the placements here. So when we're considering Robin, who is just in tier 0, she is now in 0.5, but she's also along characters such as Bronya, Ruame, Sparkle. So that's where I'm a little unsure if I would honestly agree with just who she's beside. I would assume the main reason she dropped is one, due to Tribby now being in tier 0 in the amplifier section rather than support DPS. And then also a lot of our recent damage dealers have been taking advantage of some other supports a bit more often now. For example, a character like Evernight, she does not benefit from attack, and we have been getting numerous HP scaling damage dealers, which since they are HP scaling, a lot of times they end up preferring a different support instead. We'll say though, Robin is still an excellent option for characters like Saber, for characters like Aglaya. So I still think Robin is definitely a very, very powerful support. And once again, she is still in the Apex character category, which is the best of the best. But I'd love to know if you agree with the drop. And then when it comes to a character like Sparkle, I have said this before, and I'm not too sure if I honestly changed my mind too much, but I do feel like since Cyrene has the partner plus plus tag, I do still believe that Sparkle should have some form of a partner tag, especially due to her increase on the tier list relating to Archer's release, as she is one of Archer's best support options. I do feel like because of that now, whilst Archer himself has the partner tag, there are characters that have partner tags both ways. And what I mean by this is Kafka has a partner tag, Hycillans has a partner tag, and both of these two are used very nicely together. So I just wanted to point out that example, but that is another reason why alongside Cyrene having the partner plus plus tag, that I feel like maybe Sparkle should have some form of a partner tag in relation to Archer. As for sustains, we only currently have Hyacinth in tier 0, which when it comes to what Hyacinth provides at this point and how viable she is, especially for a character like Evernight, character like Castris, and so on, and Hyacinth being able to provide the healing she does and the damage that she does as well, she is currently the only tier 0 sustain, which in all honesty, I do feel like I can agree with this, especially if we are considering signature light cone as well. Her signature light cone is a pretty powerful option on her, and it further increases her synergy with a character like Castris and Evernight. Even without Hyacinth's signature light cone, she is still a very powerful option alongside them, but with her signature light cone, this synergy just ends up getting stronger, as now in the case of Evernight, she's getting more Memoria. In the case of Castris, you're getting more New Bud. So Hyacinth is just an excellent sustain option, and I have seen a lot of people mention that they are actually waiting for a Hyacinth rerun at this point, just because of how her value has been increasing since her release. As for tier 0.5, we have Aventurine, Gallagher, Huahua, and Lingsha. For most of the sustains, I believe they're relatively in the same spots as they have been before. The main change, I believe, for the tier list now for the sustains is that only Hyacinth is in tier 0, which I'd love to know if you agree with this, or maybe you believe that another sustain should be alongside her. I'm honestly really curious where Don Heng is going to be placed, but I can definitely see him being in the Apex character category, potentially also in tier 0, honestly. but we'll just have to wait and see with more information releasing about him. And then also I will be able to showcase Don Heng soon enough. So if you'd like to see Don Heng showcases and also any teams you specifically want me to showcase, you can let me know in the comments down below and I can try my best to do that for you. But yeah, I'd love to know all of your thoughts on the tier list, if you agree with these new changes or if you're pretty iffy on a lot of them, and which ones are you not the biggest fan of, or which ones you even agree with as well. And just for a note, this was primarily the Memory of Chaos tier list that we were looking at today. And yeah, that'll be all from me, honestly. I hope all of you have a great one like always. Do make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more content from me. Peace.